All right, welcome back to another episode of the Fan Factory podcast. We have our first ever guest on today. He's famous for his sports encyclopedia, and then obviously he moved over to Barstool after that. We've been a fan since forever. Lyle and I have. We have Frank Flemming, Instagram Twitter handle NJTank99, right?
Yes.
And Frank the Tank, welcome to the show. We appreciate having you on.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be on. I know it's been a rough winter, but hopefully things will get better soon.
This winter sucks.
Definitely appreciate your flexibility. I'm here in Dallas, so we had the whole city shut down last week. And
yeah, I remember last week we were supposed to do this.
Yeah. So appreciate your flexibility, Frank.
Yeah.
So let's just get right into it. So Frank, in your mind, like why sports? Like what about sports just kind of drives you to be a fan? Is it the winning, the losing, the dramatics? What is it that really kind of drove
maybe
you?
You could say that. The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, which I've experienced a whole lot.
Okay, so let's just break it down for everybody in case you're not a Frank the Tank fan, which I don't know why you wouldn't be, but Mets,
yep.
Brooklyn Nets,
yep.
New Jersey Devils,
yes.
Notre Dame, is that right?
That's for college football, yes.
And then the one
Seton Hall for basketball.
Yes.
And then the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
Which, can you explain that to me? Why the Dolphins? I
guess it's a lot to do with Dan Marino.
Okay. Dan Marino just coming into the Meadowlands every year and just shoving it up the Jets hoop. And
yeah, well, when I started really following football was when he was coming up. The Dolphins went to Super Bowls twice in 3 years, and they didn't win them, but I was a fan back then.
Do you have any like other passions, or is like sports like it?
Sports is basically it.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about so how many teams do you have season tickets for? Is it just the Mets and the Devils, or?
Basically, yeah.
Are you excited now that the Devils are allowing fans in starting next week?
Yeah. My ticket rep called me earlier. I just missed the connection. I'll have to call her tomorrow.
Yeah. What have they talked about? What that process looks like? Are you only going to get a certain amount of games?
I don't know. I'll have to talk to my ticket rep.
But you'll be going though.
I'm sure I'll be going to a game or two.
Awesome.
How long have you had season tickets with the Devils for?
Well, I've always been a partial plan holder, but this is my second year as a full season ticket holder.
That's cool.
Same.
And where do you sit? Yeah.
Section 101.
Oh, good seats.
Is that down in the corner?
No, it's over the goal.
Oh, I love sitting
deck.
behind the end zone.
Second deck above the goalie.
Were you always a Devils fan, or is that something that started during the Cup run?
Pretty much.
So they've been your only glimmer of success, kind of like me. I'm a Devils fan also, Frank. So I'm Mets, Jets, Devils, and Knicks. So it's not as great either. So the Devils, that Cup run.
You know, tomorrow's the 10th anniversary of the Knicks getting Carmelo Anthony.
I'm coming home. That was a great music video.
You know, it is just classic how the Knicks just fucked that up.
That thing with Stoudemire and Billups and being able to bring that whole thing up, you thought it was going to be New York basketball was back, and it could not have sunk any further.
Well, for James Dolan being James Dolan caused that one.
Is he the worst owner in sports?
No.
Who is?
I had to put Daniel Snyder up there.
Okay.
I like that pick.
How about
Go ahead.
How about the fucking Seattle Mariners? The mess they're in right now.
Did you see that? The CEO goes to a Rotary meeting and opens his mouth and gets fired from his job. Could you imagine?
I'll tell you what.
Ship be sinking.
I'll tell you what. Lyle and I have done many speeches at Rotary meetings, and I've never lost my job over it. So that's pretty surprising that somebody can do that. Frank, where are your seats at the Mets at Citi Field? Where are those at?
Pretty much in front of the press box.
Do you like being up high?
It's not up high. It's middle deck.
Middle deck.
Yeah.
I actually stood there for like they have those standing room area like right behind, kind of like behind the third base side over there.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And for Game 5 of the World Series, where Harvey did everything he could, and of course, Duda threw the ball away, I was standing right there for that game.
Okay, so that's on the second deck, right?
Yep.
By the beer lounge.
Correct. Yep.
All right, so imagine going to there and then looking in front of where the press box is.
And you're right there.
Yeah.
How long have you had season tickets with the Mets?
What was that?
How long have you had your season tickets with the Mets?
I've had been a weekend plan holder for like 7 years now.
Did you have seats at Shea?
I did, but I was more of a pick and getting different plans, different years, depending on everything was.
Yeah. There's a big contingency like on Mets fans right now, like especially when it comes to like Shea Stadium versus Citi Field, and Shea Stadium was a dump, and it was our dump.
It shouldn't even be debatable.
You love Citi Field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Shea Stadium was really a dump. It was really outdated. It was time to let it go. Time to move on.
Well, I know it's been a while, but like Frank, can you give us like what's your game day routine when you go to Citi Field? Is it the same thing every time?
On what's going on, I usually head to the lounge and wait out for the game.
What's your go-to meal at Citi Field? What do you usually get?
I like the pastrami there.
It's very good. I think you and I had a pastrami sandwich when we went a few years back.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like their hot dogs, or their hot dogs are the Citi Field hot dogs garbage compared to what else you get in New York?
They're decent. They're actually Nathan's hot dogs.
So I wanted to talk to you about this, Frank. And I know you don't like Shea Stadium, but Cons at Shea Stadium, those were some good hot dogs.
Cons at Shea Stadium, that disappeared to like mid 90s. It was Nathan's in the late, started around 1998.
Yeah. That's why I grew up on Cons. I love the Cons hot dogs.
Cons doesn't serve the New York market anymore.
Where are they at?
Ohio, actually.
Interesting.
But the problem with the issue is isn't the hot dogs being good. It's just $6 for a fucking Nathan's hot dog's a fucking robbery.
Who would you say is your favorite Met of all time, Frank?
Might be Piazza.
That's my man.
There you go. Lyle, what do you got to say about Piazza?
I mean, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time.
I mean, he was just the perfect Met. It's a shame that the Mets couldn't win a World Series for him.
Did you ever meet him? Did you ever meet him, Frank?
No.
I'm happy that the Mets have embraced him within the family. You see a lot of teams with their superstars and their legacy players kind of distance themselves from them. Like down here in Dallas, Mike Modano and the Dallas Stars were so synonymous for all those years. And Modano is, I think, part of the Wild organization now. And, it's...
Oh, boy. But you know what? That's a little different. He is a Minnesota boy.
Yep.
When he was drafted, he was a Minnesota kid. And he was drafted by the Minnesota North Stars.
It's true. So, Frank, what about memorabilia? What's your favorite piece of memorabilia that you own? Either Mets.
It's the Marino thing that's hanging behind me.
The jersey?
And that was the fan sent you that, correct?
Yes.
Oh, the fan in New York City sent that to you?
Yes.
Very cool. What about Mets? What's your favorite Mets memorabilia you have?
1986 Met yearbook signed by Gary Carter.
It's a good piece.
Did you buy it, or did you get it signed by Gary?
That one I actually brought.
Okay, very cool.
And it's the 86 yearbook was silver, and it's got a blue marker signature, and it's just perfect.
You got to sign in blue. Blue doesn't fade. It's the best one. So Frank, let me ask you this. So we talk a lot about how fans are family. When you go to games, you usually see the same people who sit around you. Whether it be a Devils game or a Mets game, throughout the years, have there been kind of the same contingency of people that have sat around you that you would consider your game day family?
Yes.
Awesome.
Definitely something to develop that, especially at the Met games.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of those people and how you've kind of
there's this guy who's in a wheelchair and his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one that's on the other side of me is Gail, who works at the MTA.
Okay. Oh, so were you bringing up your New Jersey Transit debacle to Gail at all, or was there a good feud there?
Well, she roams around, so she's only there for like 3 or 4 innings anyway.
Okay. Now, have you all hung out outside of Mets games at all, or do you just see each other at the games?
No.
So it's been a while since you've seen each other.
Yeah, geez, it's since 2019, the Pete Alonso game where he hit his 53rd home run.
Could you ever imagine of not going to Mets games for almost 2 years now?
It sucks.
Yeah.
What's the thing you miss most about going to games live?
Just the atmosphere.
Yeah, we always talk about like big game buzz, right? Like when you get to go to a game and it means a lot. When was the last time that you went to a game that you feel like a Mets or Devils or wherever it was, where it was like that big game where it was like kind of do or die? Maybe it was a playoff game, or maybe it was like, I always think opening day is always a big game buzz.
I would say we'll be back to 2016, and it would be the game where Curtis Granderson had the walk-off against the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
The Grandy Man.
I do remember. Grandy Man.
Yep.
We were still in it at that point as well.
Frank, what would be the biggest, do you even know what the biggest heartbreak was for you, sports wise, in life? It could be anything.
2007 Mets collapse.
Yeah, that one was tough to swallow. I was at the 2006 game where, Beltran struck out looking.
Yep.
And seeing grown men cry at Shea Stadium was that was a life-defining moment for me. That was the first time I think I ever had my heart broken by the Mets, and there was plenty more to come, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Why do we keep doing it? Like, why do we keep cheering for, or why do people keep cheering for bad teams?
Just deep down, we're all masochists.
Do you think it has anything to do with like one day we all want to be right, and one day you can just be like, I told you the Mets were good?
Yeah, of course. Of course, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's like following that dark horse on the race, right? Like on a horse race. Like you're like, I told you that horse is going to win.
Yep.
What was maybe one game that you thought you were supposed to attend, but for whatever reason you couldn't, and you kick yourself to this day for not being there?
Actually, it wouldn't be a Met game. It would be a Yankee game. I had a chance to go to David Cohen's perfect game, and I blew it.
Oh, that's the worst. Have you ever seen a no-hitter or a perfect game live?
Nope.
Me either.
What were you doing that day that caused you to miss the game?
I just looked at the weather forecast and saw 100 degrees and 98% humidity, and I decided to pass.
That one would, I can understand why that would hurt. But
I was a student at Montclair State at the time. And Montclair State was for like $20 was sending out buses.
Wow! So for $20, you could have seen David Cohen's perfect game.
Yeah, as a Montclair State student.
You know what? I guess he was a Met, but he wasn't in a Mets uniform.
No,
I wouldn't kick yourself too hard about it. But definitely a good piece of history.
Yep.
Who's
your favorite current Met? I know we talked about Piazza, but is Alonso your guy now?
I don't know. I think it's Jacob DeGrom.
And were you ever like, as a kid, or maybe even in college, were you like an autograph seeker to, some of your favorite?
I was never that
players?
much of an autograph hound.
No.
Did
you ever have any like really cool opportunities where you got to meet any?
Yeah, I got a couple of good autographs here and there.
Which one was it? What was a memorable moment or memorable interaction you had as a kid?
I really wasn't that much of an autograph seeker as a kid, so I really wouldn't have a big one.
Okay.
Did you ever run into any of the players or anything outside the stadium and you got kind of excited about that?
A couple of players. I know Tom Seaver walked past me once.
Do you I see like tickets behind you there on your wall too. Do you collect tickets? Or you try to?
I used to. It's pointless now. But these tickets are already from the All-Star festivities in 2013.
How was that? Did you go to the game then?
Yes.
I heard the traffic was a nightmare.
Oh, it was terrible. After the home run derby, the subway had to shut down because there was a track fire.
Pretty much symbolic of the Mets.
Yep. Yeah, by the way, it was a piece of garbage that caused the fire, so very appropriate.
What we'll keep this short here, Frank. I'm sure you've got to go here, but one thing that I'm just super curious of is you obviously have your newfound fame now. Has that brought you any unique experiences that you kind of pinch yourself and say like, wow, how did I get to this moment? I would have, as a fan,
Well, I
never
would
been able
say
to do anything
definitely
like this.
Being on that private jet about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, how was that?
Very interesting.
It's cool not having to go through security and just being able to jump right on and jump right off.
Yes, indeed.
That's how you know you made it, Frank. That's what I say. If I ever ride on a private jet, that's how I know I made it. So good for you on that. And I think it's impressive that you get to do kind of what you love now. I know you spent some time doing some other stuff full time for a majority of your adult life, and now you kind of get to do the Barstool thing. So congratulations on that. That's awesome for you.
Yep.
Were you a fan of Barstool at all before your fame took off?
I've heard a little bit about them, but I didn't know that much about them.
Okay.
What I think my favorite
thing. Did you know
immediately? Go ahead, Lyle.
Did you know immediately? Did you know immediately when your rant, when you were being recorded for that rant, that was going to be a viral moment, or were you just kind of caught up in the moment?
I was caught up in the moment. I didn't think it would get this viral.
I think what I like most about you, Frank, is you're so genuine. Like what you see is what you get. Like your hatred / love for the Mets, it's as real as it gets.
Yep.
So like, let me ask you, when it comes to the Mets, are you one of those fans that's like, you understand and you're okay with developing players and rebuilds, or are you just guy that just wants to win all the time?
I want to win all the time.
So every year you go into it thinking that, hey, the Mets have at least some opportunity to win the World Series, or you hope they do?
I hope they do, although some years I know it's not possible.
What's
you
your
never know.
Yeah,
2015 came out of nowhere.
Well, they were on the rise. They just went faster and then faded faster than anyone could imagine.
What's it like? Let's put our heads here in Frank's head. What's it like after a very dramatic loss, like the next day for Frank? Do you stay away from sports radio? Do you stay away from like ESPN or?
I typically lay in my bed and say the horror. The horror.
That's great. I like to stay away from stuff for like a week once my team loses. I can't stand watching people break it down.
Yeah, definitely. I try to avoid highlights.
Who were and I have, as a Mets fan, I think we're ultimately pessimists when it comes to a lot of things. I have my three, but who are your three maybe least favorite Mets of all time?
Let's see. We got definitely Vince Coleman.
He was a piece of work, huh?
Oh, no, piece of shit.
There you go.
Aaron Heilman and Bobby Bonilla.
Mine were Aaron Heilman was on that list for sure. Steve Traxel, the human rain delay. I mean, if you go to a Traxel game, you buckle in for a 5-hour game.
Oh boy, I remember going to his games, and that was not good.
And then who was you help me out here? Who was the reliever in like the late 90s. He had a big old bald head. His name was Rick.
Rick Reed?
No, not Rick Reed.
Rick Wright?
He was a reliever. He had a
Rick Wright.
Rick Wright. He looked like a bald doof, and every time they ran him out there, you knew that he was going to give up 4 or 5 runs. I used to call him Egghead.
Remember Smell Rojas?
Oh God, we've had a lot of terrible pitchers.
How about for outfielders? What about Jason Bay? How do you guys feel about Jason Bay?
Awful.
Bay, Burnitz, like the first time around was obviously fine, but round 2 with Burnitz was not very good.
Frank, do you take your glove to the game?
No.
No.
Do
you ever have any foul balls come up there by either by the press box though?
Rarely.
Well,
I sit behind the net, so the net, and it's where the net was to start it with. So it has to go over the net and at the right angle to get to where I'm at.
And you've sat in stew seats, right? Right behind the plate?
Yes.
How was that experience?
Very good.
Yeah. You don't realize how fast they're throwing it, huh?
Well, I've sat that close at like Newark Bears minor league games.
Okay. Did you go to like games when Ricky Henderson was there?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, well, I was a Long Island Ducks guy, so I got to see my fair share of.
I actually saw
well.
Jose and Ozzie Canseco play for the Newark Bears too.
Yep. But fuck Jose, right?
Yeah, fuck him.
Rat.
Frank, what sport do you think, like out of the big top 4, which one do you know like the least about, or you care the least about? Is it basketball?
Basketball, yes.
Yeah. Even though your team might win an NBA championship this year.
It just always seems that it's fixed for the Lakers.
There's only one ball too, so you never know. A lot of guys love the ball there. So have you been to that stadium, that arena?
I have not been to the Barclays Center yet.
I heard it's a dump. So
not good for hockey. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
What's your Frank?
Go ahead, Adam.
What's your favorite sport to watch? Like watch in the arena or stadium? Is it baseball or is it hockey?
Baseball and hockey second, close second.
I mean, you can't beat baseball when it's outside in the summertime if it's not 100 degrees, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's the best. It's the best sport out there. I hate going to football games. Do you ever go to any football games like the Meadowlands or anything?
Yes, I do. Well, yes, I do. The problem is with football is perfect on TV.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I think going to football games is the worst, game day experience. It's a whole day too, between getting there early. You got to wait to stand in line to get in. The security's so bad. And I remember the old Meadowlands, it would take you 3 hours to get out of the parking lot after a game, and your whole day's shot.
Yeah, there's disadvantages to football.
But they did have the shopping cart pretzels. You ever have one of those?
Yes, I have.
The charcoal shopping cart pretzels. Those things are badass.
Yes, I have.
What's your go-to snack when you go to a Devils game? Is it just popcorn, or what are you getting there?
Popcorn is a popular thing to get at the Prudential Center. Also, get some nachos too.
Are you rocking your jersey when you go to the Devils games?
Depends on the mood I'm in.
I feel like Devils fans always wear so many, like they're always wearing jerseys. Now, do you ever call like your rep after a bad weekend of either like Mets baseball or Devils hockey and being like, we need to fix things up over there? Like if you lose a 3-3 in baseball or get swept in baseball or lose a 3-3 in hockey?
No.
You just call on the radio stations? As
former refs, we appreciate that. So Adam and I used to sell tickets, and we actually worked for the Albany Devils. So the Devils AHL team. So did you ever make it up to Albany at all?
No.
Not even for any like River Rats games or anything like that back in the day?
No.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah, you didn't miss much. Put it that way. The entire like city of Albany, just imagine, I'm sure like the courthouse you used to work in, that's the entire city of Albany. It's just a giant courthouse. So you didn't miss much there.
Who's that right there, Frank? What's the is that a picture right here you have on? I can't see the picture with 47 autographed. Who is that, Lyle? Do you know?
Jesse Orozco.
It's Jesse Orozco. I got that autographed at Cooperstown.
Oh, so you've been to what? Do you like going? How many times have you been to Cooperstown?
3 times.
It's a cool little town.
Yeah, I would love to go. I've never been, so I want to go check that out. I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame. That's pretty cool. And I've been to the NFL Hall of Fame. Have you been to the NFL Hall of Fame?
Nope.
Dan Marino went to school right by where I went to high school.
Oh, nice.
Pittsburgh. Yeah. Pittsburgh breeds quarterbacks, right, Frank?
Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing you can tell anybody who's aspiring to, they see themselves in Frank Flemming's shoes and want to grow up, is there anything that you would kind of give them for advice as, picking the teams or just sticking the course? Like, obviously you made it, right? You stuck to the process.
Yep. Never give up the dream.
So really quick, why the Mets? Is it just because of where you're located over the Yankees?
No, there are more Yankee fans here. I just grew up at the time when Dwight Gooden was coming of age.
And the Yankees were terrible.
And the Devs, is it because New Jersey's right there? You're in New Jersey?
Yes.
How were you upset when the Nets left?
I was apathetic.
Well, because those Nets teams used to be pretty good back in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
right?
but those Net teams that just their last few years in Jersey were very bad.
Yeah, they were dreadful. We were part of the Devils organization for some of those last years. And I remember we would go on some of the days where the Devils would play in the afternoon, the Nets would play at night, and the ushers would be groaning the fact that they get this Devils Pens game at 1:00, but then they got to turn over and then work a Nets Timberwolves game that night. And it just sounds absolutely miserable.
Oof.
Well, Frank, we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us a little bit about being a fan. Hopefully you can check us out, and we'll make sure people follow you. It's NJTank99, right, on Twitter?
Yes.
Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah. And our Twitter is Factory Pod on Twitter. And what is it on Instagram, Lyle?
We are Fan Factory Pod on Instagram.
Well, we appreciate it, Frank, and we appreciate everybody listening, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you.
All right. Well, anytime. I'll talk to you again some other time.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tank.
All right. See